Record.
All right.
Welcome to the show, Mandy. Finally getting the chance to get to know you. This is awesome because Mandy and I met in a drug humor group on Facebook, uh, um, where we found our love for memes, for drug humor memes,
Yes.
and
And one eye mean.
and one eye memes and forehead memes.
With all my kindred
And
thoughts.
you got plenty of wisdom up there in that forehead, and and we both just started, like, I don't know, we hit it off, becoming friends, like, in the comments, and the group was falling apart with shit, so we became friends, like, on Facebook, just in case the group went away, and it did. And
Yeah.
it was a good thing, we remained friends and sent each other random shit all the time. And I was like, I gotta hear Mandy's story because, like, we're friends, but I know some of it. We've talked. You told me about when you got sick a few years ago, and you met your husband in rehab, I think. And so, like, I know bits and pieces, but, like, I do this, and I don't know your story, and that bothers me. So I was like, I gotta ask Mandy, and here we are, 12 hours later, talking. So this is awesome. Welcome. Do you have a clean date that you, like, celebrate?
Yes, I do. I technically have two.
I have like
So,
7. Go ahead. Tell me.
so it's September 11th of 2017 was when I put down the fentanyl that I had been using. I was on Suboxone maintenance off and on for 6 years after that. And then this past Friday, so August 1st, was my 2 years off Suboxone. So it
Oh,
took me
no
a while.
shit.
Yeah, so it took me a while to come off because I kept trying to, like, taper, and I was, like, not doing it correctly, and I was thinking
Yeah.
that, like, I could just rush it and stuff, and instead of, like, picking up, I would just go back on. And then I tried the sublicated injection, and I had a horrific experience with that one. So I was like, I went back on films just to get off that way because I'm like, I can't handle the shot. It was just, I mean, it works for some people. Like, that's a very heated debate and hot topic with people that, like,
Yeah,
it
it
was
is.
one of those that I needed to have all those experiences, though. But I'm glad that it took as long as it did because I was able to, like, work on my stuff in the meantime and not have to worry about, like, being a hot mess in the process. So it was definitely the crutch that I needed to give me that, like, solid basis, because at that point when I came off of it at 6 years, I had my head out of my ass a little bit more, so I could look at things more, like, realistically and stuff. And I do miss it. I won't lie. I miss the pain relief aspect. I'm in a lot more pain. I did take it for pain management, so, like, it was one of those things where it wasn't just for addiction. I had a car accident in 2009, which is how the whole opiate thing started. So it was one of those. I miss it, but I know that, like, at the end of the day, I worked so hard to come off of it, and, like, I'm stubborn at this point, so I stay off just out of pride.
Yeah.
It's my
No,
it's my vicious ego. It's my ego they shouldn't have.
which is fine. I mean, and I know a lot of people that do stay on subs because of pain.
Yeah, it
It's
works miracles.
it's so weird because, like, I had gotten hurt a couple years ago, maybe 2021. I had been off of opiates for 3 years, clean, everything, not even subs, nothing. And I got hurt, and doctor's like, well, I can send you to the Mac clinic to get
Yeah,
meds. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not doing it. Like, I'm
That's what
not.
they push that one because it's a cheaper option, and they
Yeah.
handle the care, and it's not the doctor's problem anymore.
And I
It
have
turns
nothing
into the clinic.
against Suboxone maintenance to get off of, fentanyl or opiates in
Yeah, but
general.
for just
But I'm
hopping
not
on
going to
it
just
just
hop on the fucking
no,
subs just to
no,
get off pain for a couple weeks.
no,
Like,
that's one of those
I
things that,
bruised my
like,
tailbone. I'm not going to take subs for 2 weeks for my tailbone. Like, get the fuck.
no,
I'm
because
going
then
to
you're
be
gonna have to
addicted
kick
to
it.
subs.
No.
Like, no, it's not. I'll just deal with the pain, whatever, and that's what it was. And I was like, I'm not going to the Mac clinic for 2 weeks of pain. It's just
No.
not happening. I know way too much to do that shit.
If you were going to be in pain for the rest of your life, that's a completely
That's
different
different. That's
situation.
completely
But
different. That's
as
not
a
the case. Not
temporary
for
injury, that's a worse problem.
yeah. I would have been hooked on the subs within a
Yeah.
week because I'm an opiate addict. Let's be real.
Well, no,
Like,
7 days is all it needs. They ended up putting me on subs in a detox after I'd been in a hospital and already detoxed in the hospital. And in those 7 days of them giving them to me, I ended up having to kick all over again in the hospital. It was fabulous.
well, they give so much.
Yeah.
The one problem. Okay, I do have a problem with, and we'll jump around. As you can tell, I'm going to jump around.
Yep.
So while we're on this topic, I don't want to forget. I do have a problem with Suboxone, and it's the way it's prescribed, and I feel like it's way over prescribed.
Yep.
Some people are prescribed to take sometimes 1 to 2 films a day. Like, it's insane.
I mean, one film is 8 milligrams. That's one thing, but taking 24 milligrams a day or even 16 a day is a lot. But the 8 milligrams, even that, is still a pretty high dose.
It's a high dose.
The med is actually more effective and stronger in smaller quantities. When you're tapering, you'll notice from 2 milligrams under, it's a lot harder because it's actually stronger and it does work better in the smaller doses. That's why people are like, oh, why would you ever take 2 milligrams? It's like, because that's all you need. I was on 2 milligrams for years and totally stable. That works just fine for pain management. You don't need that much. But the addict thinking is, I need to take the maximum dose that you can prescribe. And someone was saying that they were taking 32 milligrams of that stuff.
Exactly.
There's a ceiling effect. There's no point in taking more than 16, and even 16 is pushing it. 8 really the max that it should be. But a lot of doctors have no idea what they're doing. And at least in Massachusetts, all they have to do is take a 45-minute course and they can just prescribe it. So like I was the last doctor that was prescribing to me, I was her first sub patient. She had never given it out before. And when she put me back on it, she was like, oh, what do you want? 8 milligrams? I'm like, are you trying to kill me? I'm like, no. I'm like, I would be drooling. Thank you. No. I'm like, I'll take a 2 milligram film and I'll probably split that up because I'm a weakling. And if I'm going back on the stuff, there's no need for me to be taking mass quantities of it. But they really don't have formal
and they get paid out. They get their kickbacks on how much they prescribe.
See, I don't know about the kickbacks for my state when it comes to the insurance and the way that it works.
And Massachusetts is much more of a blue state when it comes to that.
Yeah, they're very, very, very liberal. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
At least
I lived in Mass. I used to live in the South Shore. I lived in the South Shore for a while. I lived in Plymouth. I lived in Middleborough. I lived in Carver, and I lived in New Bedford.
Plymouth is that's its own separate county, right? That's
it
not
is
part of
90 square miles. It's fucking huge. Yeah. I lived right off of White Horse Beach, right on 3A, about 10 miles from the Sagamore Bridge to go into Cape Cod is where I lived in Plymouth, right off of Route 3.
That was a higher tax bracket than I can afford.
I was renting. I was renting with my best friend in his mom's 150-year-old house, and I loved it. I loved it. So my problem with the overprescribing is like not for the people that are in pain, but it's for people that are tapering to get off of opiates.
Yeah.
Like I see people all the time. I talk to them on a show. I've seen friends in real life. Because you know how it is when you're an addict. You have a lot of friends that are addicts. And I see a lot of friends that are like, I'm just going to go to my sub doctor. And then the sub doctor never actually gives you a plan to get off the opiates. They just give you a plan to just push subs on you. Yeah. And now you're on subs. And now you're taking 8 milligrams a day on average, sometimes higher. Yeah. When truly, if you want to get off opiates, you take 8 milligrams, okay. And then you take 4. And then you take 2 for a couple weeks. Then you take 1 and you cut that shit and you cut it and you cut it and you cut it. There are films, you just cut them into smaller and smaller slivers, put them right back into the pouch, and you're going to be uncomfortable for a couple days. Fucking deal with it. We're addicts.
So I didn't have any withdrawals coming off at all. No, because I found I found a nurse practitioner, actually. It wasn't
Okay.
even a doctor. It was a nurse practitioner who was my prescriber. And during one of my tapers, she had broken down the process of how to do it correctly. But me, being terminally right, thought that I could just speed that up. And that's how I had failed that one. But I took the information that she used and I implemented it this last time around. It took me 9 months to come off of from 2 milligrams down to, I jumped from 0.13, so like next to nothing. And the only symptom I had was a little bit of sweating, which potentially could have been because of my thyroid issues, to be quite frank. I don't know if it was necessarily because of the detoxing, but I sneezed. But here I
Yeah.
am 2 years later, I sneeze way more now than when I was coming off. So again, I'm allergic to 16 different types of trees. So that likely, again, I have trees outside
So
of
is
my
my wife.
window.
That's crazy. My wife's allergic to trees and grass and
Yep,
fucking
everything. Cats,
Christmas trees,
dogs.
and yeah,
Yep.
it's crazy.
I need to be in a
Foods,
bubble.
apples, fucking
Yep.
everything. Uh, um, so yeah, so that's my sub spiel. I'm supportive of Matt. You know, if it wasn't for cannabis, I wouldn't have got off opiates. I chose to stop smoking weed April 1st of 2024. That was not because it was ruining my life. It was just that it's not part of my plan anymore, and I left it behind. You know, I had smoked for 25 years, and I just felt like it wasn't serving me anymore, and I was abusing it more than it was helping me.
Yeah.
So I stopped, and I don't judge anybody that smokes weed. I don't find anything wrong with it. It just wasn't serving my recovery anymore,
Yeah.
and it's just a personal choice that I made for myself and my recovery. And money wise, I was spending so much fucking money.
Yeah. See,
I was
that's where
spending
it can
hundreds
get
of dollars a week at the dispensary. You know what I mean? Like buku, ridiculous. Like
Now, were you paying the taxes?
hell no, no. I was one of the first in Pennsylvania to have a cannabis license, to have my
Yeah.
card. I signed up for my cannabis card October of 2017, and I didn't even get clean from opiates until April of 2018. Cannabis didn't even become not recreation, it's still not recreational. Didn't become medicinal in Pennsylvania until the summer or spring of 2018.
It's not
Um,
recreational down there?
nope, nope, because I don't want our state's fucked when it comes to what's going on right now. Um, yeah, but either way, it's not. And
Massachusetts is capitalizing like
I know,
a ridiculous amount of money. There's like 8 dispensaries in Fitchburg, which is a tiny city in
yeah.
comparison to the rest of the state. Literally, when you leave my house, within 1 square mile, there's 4 or 5 different dispensaries. Like
Oh, I believe it. It's crazy, and
it's
like I got
they're cheap. It's
I
cheaper
got
to buy at a dispensary than the street.
you probably didn't notice about me, but like I got clean in LA
LA.
in 2018.
Oh, that's like
So
the capital.
what quick story about me, just to give you an insight, is I was bad on opiates for 10 years. You know, a decade, 9.5 years exactly, to be
Yeah.
exact. On 420 of 2018, I was smoking a lot of weed, obviously, because that's just what I did. I was on a lot of pills. I was probably on 200 to 300 milligrams worth of oxy, chain smoking cigarettes, and I was watching documentaries on Netflix, just by myself because I was an addict, got high by myself. And I was watching a documentary on Netflix called Legend of 420, and it saved my life, changed my life forever. It had different segments throughout the documentary about how cannabis can cure a lot of things. Like, for example, one of the segments was about like an 8-year-old kid with epilepsy that had seizures 24/7 in
I've seen
Oklahoma.
that.
In
Yes.
Oklahoma, and they moved his family to
Yep.
Colorado, and within 10 days, he could have full conversations with his brother for the first time in his life. Like, I'm
Yes.
getting chills just thinking about that kid.
Yeah, it's wild.
Amazing what it did. And one of the segments was about a place called High Sobriety. And it was a sober living in Los Angeles that helped you get off opiates by using cannabis. And they set you up with a cannabis doctor, and they set you up all this stuff. And for the first time, and I was asked a lot to go to rehab in my 20s, a lot. You know, a lot of my family knew what I was doing. And I just kept saying, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. So finally, after a decade, I'm watching this documentary. This is a Friday. I remember all this so vividly. And for the first time, I said to myself out loud, like, that's a rehab I would go to. Said that. The next day was a Saturday. At this point in my addiction, I was driving an hour and 45 minutes from Amish country, Pennsylvania to South Jersey 4 to 5 times a week to get pills and drive back.
Jesus.
I would drive with my dog because I was suicidal. And if my dog was in the car, I wouldn't run myself into a tree. So I would bring my dog with me. So on this Saturday, I was sitting in the McDonald's parking lot for 6 hours waiting for a dealer to get back to me. Finally had to use a middleman, had to hook him up for getting something, but he used the middleman. Next thing I know, I did 2 right away because I was withdrawing so bad. I'm driving back on the PA Turnpike at 8 o'clock at night with 1 pill in my pocket. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm 31 years old. I lost a fiance to suicide. I'm still grieving that 3 years later. I don't know how to grieve that. I can't get a relationship because I'm so stuck on opiates. And this is ridiculous. Let me just Google high sobriety. So I Google it, 8 o'clock at night on the Turnpike. And I was like, there's no way on a Saturday in Los Angeles at 5 o'clock at night, somebody's going to answer this number.
Yeah.
And this dude, Justin, answered. And we talked on the phone for 2 hours. And for the first time in a long time, I felt heard and somebody understood what I was talking to. And that was on a Saturday. That Wednesday, I flew out to LA and I haven't touched an opiate since.
I'm not used to meeting people that got clean as adults or like ever by choice, because I'm a product of the troubled teen industry. Like I was put into rehabs and programs as a child. So like the concept of even making it to 31 and even having family tell you to go to therapy, but you having the option of saying no is mind blowing to me. I don't normally come across that. Literally, even when I went to meetings, it was all people that were like, they got sectioned, they got forced to go, they were put in jail, most of us, it was the teen programs.
I was a very high functioning addict, Mandy. Very high functioning addict.
I'm jealous.
I ran a plumbing company with my dad and brother that was very successful. I was a workaholic. My work phone was always on me. I never missed a phone call, no matter how high I was. I was always sober enough to talk to patients, talk to clients, to talk to my employees that were plumbers, like do everything my dad and brother needed me to do. I was always there. So, they couldn't say shit really because I'd never skimped on my responsibilities. I'm getting high on my desk, but I'm answering my work phone. I have Snapchats still on my phone right now with, lines on my desk, that pop up my memories and shit. But, I had to want it. And the reason I haven't touched opiates in 7 years and change is because I wanted to stop and not I needed to stop.
Yeah.
And that, that's something that I learned 35 days into recovery. I was outside of my sober living, smoking a cigarette with my friend Taylor, who we're still good friends to this day, 7 years later. She's from Virginia, and we talk all the time, like almost daily. And she had just relapsed. I was giving her advice the whole time, and she relapsed. And she's crying, and we're smoking cigarettes. She's getting sent back to treatment, from sober living because of her relapse. She's like, I don't get this. This is like her 7th rehab. Yeah. And she's like, I can't get, my family needs me to do this. I need to do this. I need to this. I need to that. And for the first time, it dawned on me. I'm like, well, that's why, Taylor. I was like, you need this and I want this. Yeah. This is working for me because I want it. And I will do anything for this to work. When you need it for somebody else, so your priorities are shifted. Until you want this is more than you want the drug is when it's going to work. And now she's clean. She drinks, parties. She's in her mid-20s. She's having a good time, but she's like responsible about it. She doesn't drink and drive. She doesn't overdrink, and whenever she does, we text about it and we talk about it. So I don't judge her for that. I'm never going to judge anybody's recovery. As long as she's not putting a needle in her arm anymore, that's what I give a shit about. So we're going to jump back because I told you I'm good at jumping back. We're going off on rants, which we said we were going to do. September 10th, 2017.
11th.
Mandy? No.
Oh, the 10th? Okay.
I want to know about the 10th, Mandy. what was going on the day before you stopped with fentanyl on the 10th of September?
Okay, so I got clean because my dealer insulted me.
Here you are talking shit like you can't believe an adult would stop doing this, and you're like, I got insulted. He said a bad word, and I stopped. Like,
I
what?
didn't get clean because of prison or the 8 rehabs I went to, or because anyone wanted me to. It was because that hypocrite looked me dead in the face and said, "How long are you gonna keep dancing with the devil, thinking you're gonna get anywhere?" I'm
Stop.
like, you fucking bitch.
You
I
just
was
lost
so
a client.
dude, she wasn't lying, but it was so insulting, and I was like, ooh, I was so mad. I was furious. I'm like, I'm not having this. I was like, okay. And I had been struggling with coming off of methadone. So what happened was I got kicked off the methadone clinic in 2017. I wasn't able to take time off of work, so I detoxed myself off of methadone using fentanyl, like tiny amounts. I didn't want to get high anymore, so I was literally just using enough to get to work and to be able to like function and stuff.
Function.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. I get it. Yeah.
once the methadone was out of my system, then I wanted to go to detox. I had no health insurance. My mom found me a bed. I ended up going to the detox. And when I showed up there, I wanted Suboxone. They said that they would give me Suboxone. All they had was methadone. And I'm like, dude, like I just got off the clinic. I'm not doing this again. So I signed out AMA. I had no health insurance. I had no car. I had no license. I took the train back from Worcester back to Boston. I called my boss. I
Wait,
said,
what'd you call it?
"What?"
What did you call it?
I went from Worcester back to Boston.
Okay, you said Worcester. Okay, I thought you
Yeah.
said Worcester. I'm like, you from Massachusetts or not?
My accent is not super strong.
It's
Not at
not.
all.
No,
I,
it's not.
I
Okay.
spent a lot of time in Attleboro, Pawtucket, Woonsocket.
Okay.
Like I ran in areas that were
Okay.
not
Yeah.
as central. I did live in Boston for a while, but the accent does not
When I
come
was
out.
in New Bedford, that accent was strong in New Bedford.
Oh my god. I love New Bedford. I have such a soft spot for
In
down
New
there.
Bedford, New Bedford,
New
and
Bedford.
I used
Fall
to
River.
go Fall River. I used to go to a
No.
Portuguese. I used to go to a Portuguese because it's all Portuguese
Mm.
in New Bedford, and I used to go to this bar that was Portuguese, and it was karaoke every Sunday,
Yep.
and I would be high as shit, hammered, and be the only one singing in English. I'd be
I
doing like
loved
Neil
going down.
Diamond, and
I
everybody else
loved
is
living
singing
down there.
Portuguese songs.
I need to
Wait,
make a trip down. I do. I do.
there is a classic picture of me. We went to, there was a wedding, and after the wedding, we went to this bar. Where am I? We went to this bar. I wish I knew the name of it to this day. But I got to find this picture to show you how trashed I was at this fucking, where am I? Oh, here it is. this is this is me in prime addiction, all right? Like drunk and high.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That doesn't even look like you.
No beard, just my eyes shut. Look at the sweat on my shoulder from wiping the sweat off my forehead the whole time.
That was a sweat stain. I was gonna say I thought it was
It's a
lighting,
sweat
but I
stain.
was
No,
trying to
it's
give
a
you
sweat
some
stain.
credit.
Legit sweat stain.
Trying to give you any bit of credit there.
No, it's a sweat stain. That's from dancing and being drunk and high. That so yeah, that's it's just it's okay. So you took the train from Worcester to Boston.
Yeah,
You left in
I
May.
went I went back to Boston. I contacted my boss and I'm like, I'm gonna need like 4 or 5 days to kick it home. I kind of just explained what was going on. They knew I was a heroin addict. They straight up told me like, we can't fire you for being a junkie because you're still doing your job, but like you're gonna kill yourself type of status.
Mm.
And so she knew what was going on. They told me to take the 5 days. I went home. I kicked it home. I used the Mass Ave cocktail that I had to purchase because I obviously didn't have health insurance. I ended up getting caught by undercovers and I caught a case during that whole process. It ended up getting dismissed and everything and was fine because by
Wait,
the time
what's the
the
Mass
court,
Ave cocktail? What's the Mass Ave cocktail?
I detoxed myself using gabapentin, Klonopin, and what was the other one? I think it was just that. And then I had been smoking that K2 stuff, which
Oh, spice. Oh, you're
I
crazy.
was really bad with that stuff. Like,
I smoked it one time in Niagara Falls, Canada, and never again will I touch that shit. Like I
I
was
was,
freaky balls. I was like, never fucking again.
my teeth were black from that. They were
Oh,
black.
I believe that
Completely black.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was bad.
but
There's a
GABA, I
video.
wish I knew GABA existed when I was in addiction, because one of the main things that was so hard for me to stop towards the end was my restless legs.
Yeah.
And I never knew that GABA existed for what it could do for, that kind of thing. What
See,
it
when
did
it
for
comes
me.
to restless legs, there's another med, Quip, that when I was on
Yeah, it didn't
that
work for me. It didn't
it
work
didn't
for me
work
at
for
first.
you.
No,
Oh, it worked wonders for me with the
no, it didn't
methadone
work for me.
for that.
I'm on 800 milligrams 3 times a day, GABA, but I'm like 3.5 times your size, man.
I'm like the size of your leg.
My best friend is like 4'10", 100 pounds. So like every time she says a dosage and like I say, she's like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm like 380 and you're like 100. So like, let's put this in perspective."
That is a very valid point.
And I've been on GABA for 7 years. I started at 300 milligrams 3 times a day, and
Yeah.
and it's also for bipolar. So it's also a mental health med. I'm bipolar
Okay.
too.
All right.
So it kind of is a double, thing
Yeah.
of what it works for, which is cool. So you did the Mass Ave cocktail. I like that.
Yeah. So I came off that way, I detoxed myself, and then I waited 5 days to take a Suboxone because I was so terrified
Very
of the precipitated
intense. Yeah.
withdrawals. I probably should have just stayed off, but I was convinced I wasn't going to stay clean on my own if I didn't have something there. So
Yeah.
I put myself on Suboxone, and by like a month on Suboxone, I got my health insurance turned back on, and then I ended up pregnant. So I found out I was pregnant. I conceived my son when I was 2 weeks clean. So luckily that wasn't of worry, but it was like immediately after I got clean that I conceived a kid. So that kind of like solidified everything because I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna. I
And for
wasn't.
those who don't know, that are just like kind of lost in this, precipitated withdrawals are what happen when you take a Suboxone too soon after stopping and taking an opiate. Because we go through withdrawals, we used to, luckily,
Yeah.
we would go through withdrawals very quickly when it came to coming off an opiate. Like if we ran out and we're waiting to meet a
Yeah.
dealer, most of the time we're in withdrawals waiting to meet that dealer.
Yeah.
But if you take Suboxone too soon, the withdrawals get way intensified and way worse. And the
I've never
reason,
had it happen to me, so that was something that I was just terrified, and I'm like, I'm not gonna risk this one. I had
yeah,
saved going on Suboxone for when I was actually ready to get clean.
well, and that's what I was about to say is, the nice thing about Suboxone is not only does it keep away withdrawals, but it helps your mind, feel like you don't need the drug.
Yeah.
And it actually is a mental thing where it helps you be like, well, I don't have the urge. That's the word, urge. You don't have the urges as much.
To be honest, I felt like it had an antidepressant quality because I didn't need antidepressants on the years that I was on it. And I definitely felt that it was like beneficial in that sense that like it was sitting on the receptors I needed it to sit on long enough for my brain to like do what it needed to do after I
Yeah.
traumatized it for 15 years. It needed to bounce back. So it was like a giant band-aid on it. And I don't like the band-aid and the crutch terminology because I feel like there's a negative connotation to it. But when you break your leg, you need crutches. So it's like
Yeah.
people really should stop having that. I get on that soapbox all the time about not having a stigma against it, especially because the stuff that's out now, it has fucking horse tranquilizer, at least the stuff in Massachusetts.
I'm from Philly area. I'm
Yeah,
from the Philly area, South Jersey.
it's
Trank
terrible.
originated in the Philly area in Kensington, and then just blew up and exploded into Ohio, into New England, out to California,
Yeah.
down to Florida. But it's originated. The epicenter is Philly, Kensington, right off the port and off the Delaware River is where it was coming in. into Kensington, and then everyone wanted it, and it exploded out to Pittsburgh and Ohio, and but it started there and then burst its way out, into the country. And it's fucking crazy because I've had two people on the show from Kensington that were IV users. One almost lost her arm, one almost lost her foot because of the girl that almost lost her arm. She could see tendons in her arm because of how much skin the trank eats away at, because it's for fucking 400, 500-pound horses.
Do you remember the meat tenderizer that was in New Bedford and Fall River back?
I've heard of it. Yeah. Of course. Yep.
All I think of when I hear about like the flesh eating and stuff is that black, that nasty.
That's what it is.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yep. It reminds me of Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
I know you watch drug movies, and even like my theme song to this is based on Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
I couldn't use the exact, because of copyrights, so I had my buddy Nick, who loves guitar and loved my show, and he did the guitar version of the violin from Requiem when it goes like, because I love the music and Requiem. I think it's so intense and perfect to show the progression of the addiction. The music throughout the movie shows the progression between the mom's addiction, where it gets spiked up with her taking the diet pills, and then
it gets missed,
and it's like, and it gets really intense, the music, and it fits so perfectly with throughout the movie. And Jared Leto, he spent a lot of time with addicts in abandos to learn what happens in addiction, to like really understand the role, and that's why he nails it, in my opinion.
They did a really good job with that movie, but I feel like a lot of times the mom's addiction and the stuff with the mom, even the first times that I watched it, it kind of just it's kind of like in the background in comparison.
It's overshadowed. You have to watch it a few times, and you're like, what happened to her?
Yeah, you don't pay attention to it and realize that it's speed that she's eating. You don't really put that together right away, that she's got her own.
She's hallucinating. She's going through like meth hallucinations.
Yeah, it's psychosis. She's literally totally lost her marbles.
Yeah.
But you pay so much attention to the couple.
What's happened to him and his girlfriend and Marlon Wayans, and you're not even realizing. You just think she's
on purpose.
What?
They do that on purpose, so you have to rewatch it because somebody else points it out.
Yeah. Darren Aronofsky directed it. Who did Black Swan? He's a very good director. He also did the fucking what are those movies? The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I haven't seen those ones. Those are based on a book, right?
Yes, they're very intense. There's a lot of essay in it. And she's like getting revenge on the people that sexually assaulted her. And the movie portrays and shows it. And it's triggering for people that have been through it. It's very intense.
Yeah. So
like I always like to give people that warning. If you're gonna watch it, just know that they show fucking grape in that movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we were talking about getting clean, and my question is, have you ever talked to that dealer again to thank her for like insulting you?
You're going to get a laugh at this. I think you've seen me tell this story. So the girl used to front me every single day, but I always paid her every single day. I got clean with an $80 debt. And I told the girl, I'm like, I've been out of work for 5 days. I need to go back to work. And the girl literally threatened to break my legs. Now, keep in mind that the girl's in a wheelchair. I mean, I'm not a fighter. I got the upper body strength of a Care Bear, and I'm not trying to say that I'm tough by any means, but like, was she going to roll me over? Like, I'm like, I need to go to work to make your money, and it's $80. Like, you used to give me way more on a daily basis, and this is what you're going to break my legs over is $80, and you're going to send that via text? I'm like, okay. But yeah, no, I didn't thank her. I paid her the $80 and told her to shove it. I'm good. She kept trying to add me on Facebook. She's still sitting in my graveyard. I'm all set with that one.
You're gonna hate me for this one. you're gonna hate me for this. I told you I got clean in 2018, right?
Yeah.
My best friend, I was suicidal. My best friend at the time was my dealer because I talked to him every day.
Yeah.
He fronted me all the time. I was a middleman for him. He didn't like dealing in small amounts. And I knew a ton of people that bought small amounts. Yeah. So I would go see him from an hour and 45 minutes away. He'd give me like 20. I'd go and disperse small amounts. I literally had his banking number and go to his bank and deposit the cash into his bank. And he would front me all the time, and I was making very good money, and he would front me like $800 worth, like ridiculous amounts.
And I'm getting threatened over 80.
I call him. I said on that Saturday I decided to go to rehab, and I went Wednesday. There's days in between I still had to get high in order to be able to get on that plane on that Wednesday. My mom gave me some money because she was very happy that I was finally going, so she enabled me on that Monday and Wednesday. That Tuesday I needed help, and I called him and I said, "Hey Matt, I don't care about saying Max. I'm not saying last names." I said, "Hey, you know how I'm suicidal. I need to get high one more time. But I think I need to go to rehab or kill myself. I'm not sure." Okay. And I had the choice to go to rehab. I have a rehab in Los Angeles that accepted me and my insurance. And I think I don't know what to do because I owe you, and this is going to really upset you. I owe you $1,800. Because I was making like $2,000 a week at the time. I know.
I
was making ridiculous money. So I was
4.
I was depositing $1,200-$1,500 every Tuesday when I got paid into his bank account.
Listen, $300 a day is a lot when you're broke. Okay.
So I said that to him, and he said, listen, if I never hear from you again, and I hear that you're staying clean, you don't owe me a dime. But if I hear
this story,
if I hear you're back in town getting high, you owe me that money again. Haven't had to talk to him since. He hasn't reached out. I haven't, and nothing.
Yeah,
it's been 7 years and change, and he has lived up to that deal we made that day. And so that's what happened with me and him.
Yeah, that was a white privilege right there.
Well, he was going to lose the money if I kill myself.
I know. I'm fucking.
And I made him, and he knew. And the other part of this that he knew was I set him up with another guy that was going to, and I introduced them, made sure he knew another guy to do the small amounts for him. And by doing those smaller deals, I made him a shitload of money in that meantime. And he knew that. So I gave him a whole entire client base that he didn't want to touch because he wanted to keep his anonymity. And I would get a shitload, and he trusted me with fronting. I would disperse for him as like his middle, and then just put them. So he trusted me. So that's why, like I said, we were best friends at that point. We talked every day to, work together. Yeah. So it was a different kind of relationship that I had with him than you had with your girl that insulted you. In my opinion,
I mean, we've been hanging out and stuff, which was like the super messed up thing was when our man was in jail. Like, we were cool, but as soon as he got out, it became problematic. And honestly, I'm not going to question it. Her insulting me worked out to my benefit. You know what I mean? I'm not giving money to people who want to break my legs over chump change. Yeah. I mean, like, it's $80. Like, nowadays, that's like 20. Like, if you really think about it, like, it's not that much.
Don't worry. I've been threatened to get beat up by another dealer. I had another dealer because I used to go to a shady doctor.
$80? It was probably over an actual amount.
This was over $2,500.
Exactly. It was a real amount. That's how much I paid for a car. Okay.
Well, no, it wasn't dollar amounts. So at the time, I was going to a shady doctor. And the doctor was giving me scripts for 120 30s and 120 Xanax bars every month. But I was so poor, I couldn't afford the $150 cash visit. And I would go through my script so fast, this dealer in town would front me for double back. So he knew when I would get my script, and I would end up owing him like 80 off the rip. And so I was in New Bedford this one day. And I didn't have a car, and my my shady doctor was in South Jersey.
Yeah.
So I called my friend Ray, and I'll say his name so he can be on my podcast soon. And we talked about it earlier, this story, actually. We were texting about this story. I called my friend Ray, who lived by himself, and I lived with him for a minute before this. And I said, yo, like, I got to go see my doctor. He was in addiction too, Ray was. And I was like, I need a ride from the train station over to my doctor to a pharmacy, and I'll hook you up. He said, all right, let's do that. So I walked 2 miles in New Bedford at 4 a.m. to a bus, hopped on that bus, went north to Boston, hopped on another bus, went down to New York City, transferred to another bus into Philly's bus to take me down to Philly, got off the bus, went to my doctor at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., left there, went to a pharmacy. They happen to have it, which never happens. The first pharmacy you go to never happens. So I went to that pharmacy. They filled it right away. Now I'm getting high rates. We're breaking up 30s. We're doing lines. We're feeling good. And my dealer was a huge fucking dude. He still is. Like, I mean, jacked. And we see him coming up the stairs to his apartment. And so I hide in the closet like fucking Anne Frank.
Like Anne Frank.
I have all the intentions in the world of staying at Ray's house overnight and then taking the bus back the next day. This is in 2012, 2013, something like that. 2014. Uber didn't exist, really. So I ended up sneaking out of Ray's window, running across the street to the Chinese restaurant, telling them I was in danger, and because they were in their car waiting for me to come out the door. So I went up the other side. I called a cab. The cab took me over the bridge into Philly, hopped on the next bus to New York. I get to New York. I'm so high on Xanax and 30s. I'm walking through the rain, just chain smoking through New York City to go to the transfer bus to Boston. And then I get the other transfer to New Bedford. It's a 26-hour trip, round trip altogether.
Yeah, that's a lot.
To get back. And I don't sleep at all, just high as fuck, did like 25 30s in that time, just ripped. So
way too much.
I've had my adventures of almost getting beat the fuck up too, is what I'm trying. So
I wasn't even gonna get beat up because I mean, she's not gonna do anything from the wheelchair. I can walk away faster than she can roll. I'm an asthmatic, but I can move faster than a wheelchair.
Take your inhaler. That's how she's gonna punish you. So God. We jumped around a lot. You're from Massachusetts, born and raised, right?
So I've lived absolutely everywhere. I lived in Rhode Island. I lived in Massachusetts. I never went to the same school for more than 18 months, moved around a ton. I left home to go to programs at 15. So
I was just going to say, what did you discover first, drugs or alcohol?
Well, I was prescribed narcotics before I made a decision to use.
What happened? You were prescribed narcotics at a young age, and how old were you?
So at 12, 13, I started ending up in psych hospitals and stuff, and I was part of the troubled teen industry. It's very lucrative insurance, what they charge for psych beds for adolescents, and then for inpatient stays and all that.
How old are you, Mandy?
I'm going to be 37 next month.
Okay. I'm September too. September what?
4th.
Okay, I'm in exactly a month then. I'm the 29th. I'll be 39. Okay, so this is late 90s, right? You're talking, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, 2000, 2001. And then I left high school in 2004. I ended up going to Job Corps. I technically got kicked out, but they did let me graduate. I got a computer tech degree for systems that aren't even existing anymore. I worked on those Windows 97 shit, nothing that's made anymore. Very useless degree. I got
You had
my gift.
AOL. You had AOL free programming DVD.
Yes, I remember when you could get your 90 minutes for like $10 on a CD. Oh my god. I
um,
worked. Yeah.
can I ask why you were in troubled teens? Were you fighting, or because you were bouncing around a lot? Were you having trouble making friends, or what was going? Can I ask?
So originally I started going to the hospitals and stuff, and then when I started smoking weed, my parents totally freaked out on that front and were definitely like, "Eh." My mom had been in like AA and stuff in the past, and like I got sent to meetings and stuff. My first rehab that I got sent to, I definitely shouldn't have been put into it, but I definitely got more education on how to abuse drugs that get out of your system faster. So
Yep.
essentially, when my parents cracked down on the weed,
Weed. Yeah.
I figured out other options, and I had an eating disorder for a bit, and that definitely played a huge factor into things.
I
And
should ran rampant in that
yeah,
time period. Late
yeah,
night.
it was really
Like
bad. Yeah.
I love the show Friends, but I blame Friends for a lot of eating disorders in the 90s and 2000s.
With me and my friends, I felt like it was more of like the America's
Magazines.
Next Top Model,
Okay.
Tyra
Okay.
Banks, calling
Okay.
anybody who's a size 4 obese, stuff like
Hmm.
that. Like there was Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, that whole
Yeah.
crew. As much as I love Paris Hilton, I
Yeah.
definitely
The
that
MTV generation is what you're saying?
it was like the heroin chic look,
The
and
heroin chic. Yep.
we literally just matched it, and like
Yeah.
there was no need for it, but it was a
Yep.
sense of control and stuff, and the
Yeah.
drugs made it so that I could lose weight faster,
Faster.
essentially.
Yep.
And then the
Yeah,
opiates
because
didn't start till I was like older, and that was from a car accident.
well, and the thing is too, you learn in rehab, I'm sure, like for people that don't know, if you're just like watching a show to watch it, weed stays in your system 30 to 45 days, depending on
Yeah,
your metabolism, sometimes 60, sometimes 15,
sometimes
depends,
90.
sometimes 90.
Yeah,
But you do some heroin, you do some meth, you do some fucking coke, 3 to 5 days tops.
yeah, at the
Sometimes
most.
faster. Yeah, sometimes faster.
Yeah,
Uh,
most times it was like 48 hours that I could flush my system out. Like I used on probation for years and never failed.
well, with an
And
eating disorder, your metabolism sometimes goes faster and you
yep,
can flush it out quicker. When you're a big guy like me, that shit stays, it
yeah.
sticks. It sticks to the fatty cells.
I did have a point though where it did stay in my system for like 60 days when I was in a rehab, and they kept testing me over and over, and I'm like, I swear I'm not smoking, but it
Yeah,
was just stockpiling in there, and I'm
yeah.
like, my bad. Let's
It happens to the best of us. Okay, so you're in trouble teens programs, AA, and all that as a teenager,
yeah.
um, and you eventually stop doing like speed. Essentially, between were you doing meth or were you doing coke or
So I've never actually done that,
neither
but
have I.
no,
I did
that's
a lot
not.
of coke. I did a lot of coke, a lot of
Yeah.
Adderall, but never meth.
I put down Coke in 2007.
Okay.
It's not really my thing, not about it. When I got with my husband, I really worked on the eating disorder stuff, so that kind of curtailed things
And
with,
how did you
yeah.
met him in an interesting way that's different from most people's experiences, right?
Yeah, I met him in a rehab. I married my
Rehab
halfway
romance,
house romance.
which never works. Let's be
It,
honest. Don't
18
recommend it.
years later, it did.
Yeah, don't recommend it usually. But 18 years later, two
Yeah,
kids, right? Two
yeah, yeah,
two kids. 18 years later, you're both clean
yeah.
and have good jobs and
Oh,
have a life of your own. And
yeah,
it can work out. You're
yeah,
not the first ones to tell me it worked out, but you're definitely in the minority. Let's be
yeah,
real.
yeah,
Rehab romances tend to crash and burn.
yeah.
With both of you ended up in separate rehabs or psych wards or both.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, we definitely did crash and burn. We were toxic. We did use together. It's not like we met and stayed clean all these years. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we ended up in prison together. Like,
Oh,
we
did you?
went, we would go big or go home. We didn't go
Mhm.
home. You know what I mean? Like, we did it all. But
How'd you
it
end up in prison eventually?
So I was in prison from 2012 to 2014. So that was a lovely little extended stay.
A little
Um,
bit, 2
mm,
years.
yeah, because apparently when you drive a getaway car, Massachusetts slaps you with the joint venture and you get the exact same charge.
Robin a bank.
My lawyer said if I had hit a bank, I would have done less time. He said, next time, slip a note to a bank teller, you moron.
Was it an armored car?
No, God, no. It was all over in the news, and once you realize what it was, you're going to
I mean,
die.
I'm on the edge of my seat, Mandy.
So remember those two fucking morons that robbed a bunch of donut shops with a I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. I'm uncomfortable.
You robbed donut shops? Is that what you're telling me?
I would. I shouldn't laugh.
No, you should laugh. Go on. This is great. Go ahead.
Okay, so. Oh, God. Greg got the idea from somebody else that had done it previous to us. But I don't know what was going on in our brains that this was ever a good idea. But it was like 3 Dunkin' Donuts and 2 honeydews in the span of like a week. And we were all over the news. It was a total disaster. And all said and done, did you know if you rob a place and get no money, it's the exact same 25-year sentence as if you get all that money?
You robbed a Dunkin' Donuts or a Honeydew and got nothing out of it but some donuts.
Okay, so keep in mind this. When all of this was happening, Greg had just gotten off dialysis. He was 106 pounds and was like yellow. He had just gotten out of Rhode Island Hospital. So, of course, I yelled at him. I'm like, you worked at Dunkin' Donuts. Just hit the no sale button, you moron. But he was like, I'm too weak to hop over the counter and I don't want to hurt anybody. He's so sweet and nice. He said, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. I'm like, you're thanking these people.
So you did 2 years. Now, were you getting high in prison?
No, I was too poor.
Okay. I know a lot of people that get high in prison, so I've heard people get sober in prison and stay sober. I've heard people that just like stay straight while in prison and get high again.
Yeah.
But so it sounds like you got out of prison for 2 years. And how much time did Greg do?
He did 3 in total.
Okay. But you had said you got into a car accident eventually, and that's what introduced you to opiates?
That was before going to prison.
Oh, that was before. Okay, so the robbing the donut shops.
Why else would I have a needle if I weren't using?
That's true.
100 in the trunk.
2007 is when you put down coke. Okay.
Yes, yeah. I just switched. It was fun.
When did you get into a car accident?
2009. I got hit by a drunk driver pulled out across 3 lanes on 140 when I was doing 45, and I T-boned him, totaled my mother's car. And I, of course, was stupid at the time. And because I didn't feel like I was in pain, I didn't go to the hospital. I had the cops drive us home. So, yeah.
You didn't get any money out of it?
No, God, no. They didn't. Nothing was covered because I didn't go to the hospital. But I ended up going to a pain clinic.
Pain clinics were huge in 2009, and they just handed out like there's a documentary on HBO called Cape Cod, Heroin Town, USA.
Yep.
I don't know if you're...
One of the girls I know that
Was in
was
that
on
documentary?
that died. The Marissa.
Oh shit! Really? I've
Yeah,
watched it a few times. It's a
yeah.
very,
I,
very true, look into what was happening to the mid to late 2000s
it
in
was
Cape
wild out there.
Cod and southern Massachusetts. Well, as you guys call it, South Shore, Massachusetts. What was going on with opiates, where it like kind of started and kind
Yeah.
of spread out in Massachusetts from the South Shore. Boston down to Cape, it was just a
The
right
North Shore, it's bad too. It's the
eventually,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
um,
real rough up there.
yeah. Because like I said, I lived right off of Route 3, and Route
Mhm.
3 from Boston down to Cape was just
Yeah.
like a hub for like
Mhm.
Marshfield and Quincy and all the like Kingston, all the like towns right off of the highway. Just Plymouth
Yeah.
just were hit so hard. But anyway, 2009 you got an accident, you go to a pain clinic, they're just like, what do they hand you, like 30s?
I want to say they had started me on a lower dose, and then I'm pretty sure, I won't lie, I'm pretty sure I did manipulate the system because
Mm,
this was also at a time where I was at a point where my teeth were so jacked from the bulimia and throwing up all the time that I could open my mouth and get a script. So I had already had a dependency kind of like brewing, or at least starting to brew the idea of having like options and stuff. So it was like I definitely manipulated that one. I wasn't like a total victim from the
yeah,
pain
of
clinics.
course.
You
We
know
all
what I
do.
mean?
Yeah.
And
We all do.
I will say that I know innocent victims of pain clinics, but I just personally wasn't one of them. And I'm not going to sit here and say that that I didn't manipulate that, because I knew at that point what was going on, because I had already been in like 3 rehabs. So like I
A
was
lot of us
well,
are master manipulators by trade
yeah,
growing up. Even if it's to get like candy as a kid, little
yeah,
shit, like it all
yeah,
starts as a kid. You know, I see, even kids do it nowadays, like with getting tablet time and YouTube
yeah,
time and screen time.
yeah.
They manipulate,
Oh
they're,
yeah, they
and
push
you got to
it. They
catch that
push it
shit.
all the
You got to
time.
call them out and you got to make sure
Yeah,
because,
my
this shit
daughter
runs
will
in the
start
family.
fake crying and then look to see if you're giving a reaction.
Yep. Oh my God. How old are your kids now?
5 and 7.
Okay, mine's
Yeah,
11, and it's just sometimes you
it's
gotta check
funny.
them. You gotta be like, you gotta,
Yeah,
give a little reminder of what's going on, who's the boss.
right.
All right. So you get in an accident. How quickly do you go from the pills to dope?
Um, Pretty quick. I want to say it was like 9 months, maybe. I can't sniff stuff because my nose was totally destroyed, so it was
Mm.
kind of like bing, bada boom. Like it went pretty quickly. My stomach is also messed up, so I wasn't too keen. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm not gonna swallow pills. I'm just gonna inject something else that's way worse.
In my body. Well, and
I
you're
have no
skinny, so your veins
standards.
probably pop like crazy, right?
What?
Your veins probably pop like crazy because of being skinny.
Not really, honestly. No. When I go get blood work, I only have one functional one left. So
Even
I.
no. Then.
Oh no! Back then they still hid. They hid
Oh,
all the time. Yeah,
oh
they
shit.
would just creep away. It was the worst. But even now, it's been almost 8 years as of next
Yeah.
month, and I still have one functional vein. When I go to get my thyroid labs, I have to point directly to it and say, "Please be gentle," because there's no other options. Like I'm like, please just don't do this to me, because everything else is scar tissue, and I'm like, it just hurts. But I got to get blood work done so much that I need to have one functional one. So I'm like, please just be gentle. They aren't.
Now, you had to, and you got clean eventually after, you got insulted. Let's be real. You got
Yeah.
insulted, you got clean.
I stayed
But
clean because of the kid, but
yeah,
the initial reason had nothing to do with that, because I wasn't pregnant.
now something happened that turned you into fucking, oh my God, I was blanking. Forrest Whitaker.
Oh, yes.
Forrest Whitaker, Popeye. Yes.
Yeah.
You're Popeye,
My Popeye story.
yeah,
So,
there's always she'll send me shit all the time. Where she has one eye, yep, like that, and she's in the hospital. You're skin and bones. You
Yeah,
were
I was
very sick,
dying. Yeah,
and
I
you
was
were
very
being
sick.
accused of being on drugs again, right?
Yeah.
But
I
what was
got
actually happening?
So in 2020, I started getting skinny. I started complaining to my doctors, and they were like, "Well, you just had a baby. You probably have postpartum anxiety. It's probably just stress." And I'm like, I don't think I should be like. I left the hospital 125 pounds after having a child. Like I'm 5 foot
That's
5. That's pretty small. And
yeah.
I was like, I think something's wrong, and they just kind of brushed it off. And then June of 2021, my eye got stuck closed. I was just stuck completely one eyed. I could not open my eye. I panicked. I went to the emergency room, and all they cared about was the fact that I was skinny. They did not care about my eyeball being stuck closed. I'm like, what is going on? I got trapped in the hospital for the weekend. When I finally got out, I had to see like 10 different. Oh, yes. Yes, I was 83 pounds at that point.
Look at that
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker. I
At one point, it switched to the other eye, but I
had
saw
to
like
pull it up. Go ahead.
you have that saved. It's hearted. I know it
No, I
is.
went into our conversation into the
No,
files and I
no,
scrolled.
it's in
Yeah,
your
so
personal folder.
I got like 7,000 photos. I can't pull it up that quick. So you were down to 83 pounds. You were Forrest Whitaker with one
Yeah,
eye, and
I was
but they didn't
super
know what
sick.
was wrong. They were accusing you of
So
bulimia. Or,
it wasn't the doctors accusing me of anything.
okay,
That was a different individual.
okay, which one's the name?
That
Yeah,
Yeah, that was somebody else that had been panicking because they hadn't seen me in over a year. So when they all of a sudden saw me and I was wearing these giant bug sunglasses, they thought I was doing the Paris Hilton thing because I was wearing those huge glasses to hide my weird eye because everybody stares like when you're a cyclops. People are not nice when you have shit wrong with your face. Like I know I'm
no,
goofy looking to begin with, but then adding the eye thing in, just I was a target. Children were like staring at it, and I'm like, can I help you? You know what I mean? It was really bad, but I saw 10 different specialists over the course of the next few months. I went through a bunch of different medications, poke prodding tests. They
which
ended
is
up
hard to see
diagnosing
during COVID. That's hard to.
what.
It's hard to see all those specialists during COVID.
Yeah, it's 6 months to see an endocrinologist, and to
That's
be
what happened.
honest,
That's what
most
happened.
of
Yeah,
yeah.
I needed my gallbladder removed. They
Yep.
weren't sure if it was my adrenal gland
Yeah.
or they weren't sure if I was getting COVID off and on.
Yep.
They didn't know what was happening. They couldn't do an endoscopy because it wasn't an emergency. And the endoscopy department was used for overhaul for COVID.
Yeah, it was
So
a mess
it
back then.
started
Yep.
in February of 2020, and then I quit drinking end of February just in case it was that. So I quit drinking. Haven't had a sip since February 28th of 2020. And they were, trying to figure out what was wrong, and they didn't do an endoscopy until like March of 2021.
Yeah,
So I know
it's
endocrinology
a
was fucking
long
crazy.
time.
Yeah,
They ended up having me see a diabetes doctor in the meantime at my primary care doctor, who wrote me a prescription and stuff and tried to like get me seen. And I ended up, it was like 6 months later when I finally got all the diagnoses and stuff. So they diagnosed me with Graves' disease and then ocular myasthenia gravis, which I had to go on prednisone for over a year. I got super fat from that with the moon face. Everybody asked me if I was pregnant all the time. It was super insulting. My neighbor stuck her head out the window and was like, "Are you pregnant again or just fat?" I'm like, "Just fat, thank you." Yeah, no, no. I got fixed. Like there's no kids. So if I blow up, it's because I'm on meds. You know what I mean? Like process of deduction, but obviously she doesn't know about my insides. But I was cracking up laughing when she said that. And I'm like, I'm just fat. Thank you very much for your concern. I'm just I'm just pleasantly plump. Thank you.
but they got that situated eventually.
Yeah, I've been in remission from that one for the last 2 years now. And then I'm working on going into remission from the Graves' disease. I'm still on the meds and stuff for that one. I got to get lab work done soon for that. So hopefully that
And that's the
continues.
thyroid labs that you have to do is for that.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
right now I'm on every 3 months, but at first I was getting them done every 2 weeks. So every 14
Okay.
days I was having to get poked and prodded, and it was just a total mess.
That's a
So I
nightmare.
was going to doctors Monday to Friday. I had different doctors every single day that I was seeing and different specialists and stuff. So I was a human lab rat. Nobody knew what was going on, and nobody appreciated my house jokes. Every time I went to the doctor, I kept asking for their resident drug addict, and they were not appreciating my humor. I'm like, seriously. I said, do you have a house? I said, where's the resident junkie that can help me? I said, where's your super smart autistic guy that can just fix me? Because
Hmm.
none of you guys are doing it right.
Now,
It was a woman who figured out what was wrong with me and how to get me off the prednisone and into remission.
what
Her 6 male colleagues couldn't do it, but she could.
was it triggering to be accused of being on drugs again and not actually being on drugs and not knowing what was wrong? Were you feeling like, well, I might as well get fucking high? Everyone thinks I am anyway.
No, no,
What about when you gain the weight?
I was more angry about the fact that I had DCF called. I was more
Okay.
insulted because the worker admitted that if I wasn't skinny and one-eyed, they wouldn't even looked at me, and they would have told the person who had called that it was
Mm,
obviously fake, and it would have been screened out. And
yeah.
essentially they admitted to discriminating against me because of my appearance. And like once they admitted that and I was able to like file a complaint and stuff, like I started having a little bit more okayness with it. But I
Yeah.
also realized at the same sense, when you see somebody looking that skinny and they have a history of being a heroin addict, that's kind of a natural thing to do if they're refusing to talk to you. So I
Yeah.
kind of
And
get
you've,
that one.
without saying names, you made your peace with that person since then, and you
Yeah,
understand
I'm making my peace with that one internally before like venturing
addressing.
that one. But definitely I needed the removal of that person in order to look at like the bigger picture of
Yeah.
things and like how my part in things could have
See the
played.
forest through the trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you gain the weight, did that trigger anything with like the eating disorder and like the doing the drugs to lose the weight again, or
No, mainly just for the fact that even gaining the weight, like I was still smaller than when I was in prison. You know what I mean? So, like, it's been years since the eating disorder has been a problem. That hasn't been an issue since I was like 21. So, like,
okay?
it's one of those things that it's like in the back of my mind type of thing. And I only notice it when I look at like pictures that I used to consider myself fat in, and I was like gross skinny, and I'm like, ooh, geez. Or like I'll look at a picture of myself from back. My phone just glitched out. Is it
You're
working
good.
now?
Yeah, you're good. You're still there.
Sorry, my Safari button. I'm trying to hold in my phone charger because this thing is ghetto as hell and broken, and I have no idea where my good cord is. So I'm trying to hold it in, and it pressed down on my little home screen on my
Wow.
piece of crap phone. But yeah, it didn't really trigger anything with that one. It was just more upsetting because I had given away all of my clothes from when I had been larger. So, like, I had no clothing that fit me, and it was just super uncomfortable. And like it was the middle of summer, and I was not having that. The swollenness, the amount of water retention when you're on prednisone and on high doses for over a year, my legs were like tree trunks. My poor kinkles, like I didn't have
Yeah.
ankles, I had kinkles,
Yeah.
and it hurt. My skin was stretching from the swelling, so it wasn't like triggering in that sense. But I was pissed that they wouldn't give me Lasix and they wouldn't like work with me more, and they were just kind of like, oh, you just kind of have to deal with it. Like I
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was looked at seriously.
It's a bitch to be put on like to beat addiction and then to be put on meds for like either mental health or physical health, and
Yep.
then those meds blow you up. Like,
Yep.
I've dealt with severe insomnia since I was a kid, and I medicated with drugs and alcohol for 20 some
Yeah.
years. 'Cause I started drinking at 11, and I started daily drinking at 12.
Oh, geez.
And that went on until I was 22 when I discovered opiates. So, and that went on until I was 31. And then I went back to drinking again. And then I went back to Xanax and benzos. And
I'm so sorry. I just noticed what time it is. I have to wake up Greg because he has the night shift and he needs to be walking out the door in 15 minutes to go to work. And he is passed out with the kids right now. I didn't realize it was past 10
we're
o'clock.
We're about to wrap.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. No, we're at the end. But yeah, I ended up being put on Zyprexa for my insomnia in recovery, and I gained 100 pounds in a year and a half.
The psych meds are the worst with the weight gain. It was terrible.
So now I'm barely on
Seroquel,
any meds.
blew up.
Now I'm on barely meds. I just do a lot. I know you're not a 12-stepper, but I am. Yeah. And I'm in a lot of therapy, and this podcast is my therapy. So, and I work on myself internally that way. And and I'm so glad to have gotten a chance to get to know you more.
Yeah,
because we've become such good friends over the last 8 months from the meme site, and you're not even in that group anymore, are you?
No, I boycotted after the whole end situation.
But yeah, we're still buds. We still talk all the time. You tag me in funny vape memes whenever you lose your vape.
Of course. Where is my vape?
My best friend, whenever she loses her vape, she starts yelling, "Emergency, emergency, emergency."
Seriously, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, it's so funny. So I'll let you go wake up Greg. Thank you so much for Mandy taking the time to sit down with me. And I will talk to you soon. No problem at all. Talk to you soon. Bye.
I'll talk soon. Bye.